Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. Voting for the first phase of the Gujarat Assembly elections in 89 seats across 19 districts ended on Thursday. Around 57% voter turnout was recorded till about 5 p.m. In these constituencies that are spread in Saurashtra-Kutch and southern parts of the state, the figures are likely to change. Barring a few minor incidents and some reports of problems in the electronic voting machines, the voting was largely peaceful according to the Election Commission. The fate of 788 candidates, which include 70 women, has been sealed in the first phase. Now, the second phase of elections will be held on the 5th of December, while the results will be announced on 8th, along with that of Himachal Pradesh. So, how did Gujarat vote in the first phase of polling? With the elections witnessing a three-way contest this time, what are the indications about the political future of Gujarat? All this and much more in perspective with distinguished panelists joining us on the program. Pleased to welcome Mr. Sandeep Phukun, senior journalist. He is joining us in the studio, and two guests join us virtually. Mr. Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist. Mr. Shyam Parekh, senior journalist. He joins us from Ahmedabad. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on the program today. Mr. Parekh, since you're joining us from Ahmedabad, let me open the discussion today with you. How do you decode the first phase of polling? What is the sense that you get from Gujarat? Do the people of Gujarat want consistency or they want change?
That's a very loaded question, very difficult for anybody to give an answer that specific. But what I'm seeing is that the voter turnout has not been bad. I wouldn't say it is as great as everybody expected, but it is consistently good in tribal areas. Morbi particularly, which has seen the bridge collapse, has seen a very unusually high voter turnout. So what it means needs to be decoded on 8th. Difficult to say today which way the trend is. But largely speaking, it seems that there was no specific agenda or an issue that was driving the election this time. It's been unusually lackluster. Generally, elections in Gujarat tend to be quite warlike and quite interesting. But clearly, there was a very strong challenger missing on the scene. AAP did emerge as a strong new kid on the block, you can say that. But it is yet to make massive inroads where you can see that as a clear challenger, which would be dislodging the party in power. Congress has been working hard and seemingly connecting well on some specific seats in specific areas. But on the whole, as a big challenger opposition party, which is all set to snatch power from the ruling party, that kind of scenario was not visible. So if you sum up by what is absent and what is conspicuous by absence, then it's basically this, that the ruling party BJP should not see much of a problem in coming back to power. But that's a very, general on the street perspective that I've shared.
Okay, so what does Mr. Phukun have to say? Is just come back from Gujarat. What is your assessment, Mr. Phukun? This time the BJP expects somewhere around 140 seats. Last time around they were restricted to 99. What is the sense that you are getting? Will they be able to manage a clean sweep, or has the Aam Aadmi Party risen up to the challenge of actually emerging as the challenger, displacing the Congress party?
Yeah, so I think by and large I completely by and large, I agree with Mr. Parekh. First, what was actually remarkable about these Gujarat elections, Gujarat elections are usually very high-pitched. They acquire a very national, it acquires a national color. It's as if, all politicians are going there, fighting. That was missing. Largely because Congress's main campaigner, they've started rather late. Their senior poll observer was Ashok Gehlot, who himself was caught in a leadership tussle with his former deputy. So they lost a lot of time. They were also busy with their own presidential election. So again, they could not. There was no specific focus on the part of the Congress. And by and large, Gujarat has been a bipartisan state. Though BJP has been in power for 27 years, but Congress has been the principal challenger. So the space created by them was taken up by Aam Aadmi Party. I must say that initially sitting in Delhi, I thought that maybe they have a larger presence in social media and they're not much being talked about. That's not quite the case. They are being talked about. They may not be able to win many seats, but they have become a talking point. People are talking about them. On some seats, they will pose a challenge. I was in the Saurashtra region. Rajkot city is one seat where Aam Aadmi Party will give a tough challenge to the incumbent, who's from the BJP. Again, Varacha seat in Surat, they're saying that Aam Aadmi Party is strong. So, in pockets, they are strong. Congress claims that they have been working very hard on the ground and silently. They also want to avoid a very high-pitched campaign because somebody or the other ends up making very personal attacks, which is used by the BJP to their advantage. A case in point is what the Congress president said about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He referred, in a manner of speaking, he said, you are canvassing from municipal election to MP election. Are you Ravan? Immediately that was caught up by the BJP and spun it as an insult to a son of Gujarat. So in fact today the Prime Minister himself has reacted. Until today others were saying, but today the Prime Minister himself has reacted and said that there is a competition among Congress leaders to sort of call names. So that is why this was one of the reasons why some of the local level leaders told me that they would rather prefer this sort of campaign where they don't get into controversy. Last election, I remember, I covered last time also quite extensively in Gujarat, and I remember, Manishankar Iyer, I think, had made a very uncharitable remark against the Prime Minister, again a personal attack, and that really gave an edge to the campaign. And if you compare 2022 with 2017, I think the major factor is that the Congress has been by and large missing in terms of popular mind space. I mean, they may be on the ground working silently, but in elections you also need to be visible. So their visibility is certainly much less, and that is the space that they created for AAP. And AAP is visible, but my own impression is that this is an election where they are testing waters. If they find good vote share, I think they will eventually emerge as, or they would like to emerge as the principal challenger for the next election.
Certainly. And how difficult will that be for the Congress party in a state like Gujarat is something that I'll come back to you and understand further. But Mr. Iyer, your thoughts. So two, prominent points that have emerged, that elections this time are a little lackluster compared to earlier, and the fact that Aam Aadmi Party this time has, of course, risen to the challenge and made it a three-way contest. What is it that makes the election in Gujarat this time special and unique for you? What is it that gives strength to the BJP despite being in power for decades? What is it that has helped the AAP actually silently make inroads?
Well, Tina, there are three aspects to this year's election in Gujarat particularly. One, Congress is not fighting this election the way it fought in 2017. Secondly, the BJP is looking at Gujarat not in terms of, whether it will come back or not. That is not the point. What the Prime Minister wants is, he wants a record haul of seats from Gujarat. Now, will that happen? Because, it has been, Prime Minister Modi has been, looking at Gujarat because this is 27 years. 6 elections they have fought and won. This is the 7th election. So, and particularly the 2017 was very painful in the sense their figure went down 100, it came to 99. Though they managed 49.05% of votes, I mean almost close to 50% of vote they had. And Congress had 41% vote and they had a good figure of 77, which was the highest, since Modi came on the scene in 2002. So, Prime Minister has been saying it very clearly. He has been, he has not been mincing words. He says, let my record be broken by Bhupendra. Let Bhupendra break Narendra's record so that I can continue my work there. So the Prime Minister would be satisfied, perhaps, if the BJP manages to get a good figure and which will help them overcome the setback they had in 2017, which was largely because of the Patidar agitation, then Anandi Ben being shifted and BJP trying to focus on non-Patidar votes by bringing in Vijay Rupani, and Vijay Rupani was again made CM after somehow they managed to win, and subsequently we have seen last year a very big correction exercise was undertaken when Vijay Rupani was replaced by a greenhorn Bhupendra Patil. And since then, lot of old ministers were have been changed. More new faces have been brought, because Gujarat presents an interesting case of there is huge pro-incumbency for the Prime Minister, and there are serious anti-incumbency issues for BJP ministers, BJP legislators. There is no doubt about it. And an incident like Morbi Bridge disaster only added to that anti-incumbency issue, because a lot of things have been going wrong in Gujarat in the last few years, rather in fact after Modi shifted to Delhi. So these are serious issues. So in spite of all that, what we are seeing today is an intensive, aggressive campaign, as if their next breath depends on winning Gujarat, which may give us an impression that, oh, BJP is in trouble, that's why Prime Minister is doing this. But I don't think so. What the Prime Minister wants is use his persona, use his USP, use his connect with the people, so that the BJP manages the record. Now, what is so great about breaking a record? Because in 1985, Congress under Madhav Singh Solanki, that famous social political alliance called CALM, had managed a figure of 149, that is close to 150 seats out of 182. That's a kind of figure which has been dreamed for the Prime Minister and the BJP. Now, given the scenario that has emerged there, I do not know whether BJP can actually make that. But it also depends on what we are seeing as the new entrant, Aam Aadmi Party. Rather, Aam Aadmi Party has been making inroad since the last civil elections. You saw them making impact in places like Surat.
Yes.
And this time too, they have been concentrating and they have been getting good response. As Sandeep Pukhanji was saying, Saurashtra, South Gujarat, even in tribal areas. So that is a worrisome factor. That's why you have seen the last few days, all BJP leaders, including Amit Shah, have been saying that it is Congress which is our opponent. Our fight is with the Congress, not with AAP. But the groundswell is different. But then the other question that comes, which is the third aspect, is why did Congress choose to fight this election this way? Is it because of absence of leader like Ahmed Patel? The late Ahmed Patel was a great strategist. Is it because of that? Or is it because, as Sandeep Mukherjee was saying, perhaps they felt they better go for a door-to-door, a silent campaign? We do not know. We will know only if this strategy works after we see the results. But definitely, there is a bit disquiet as to why Congress has fought this way, because Aam Aadmi's success would only come at the cost of Congress.
Certainly.
But at the same time, when you are dividing the anti-BJP votes, that would also help in BJP shoring up its numbers. That is what they are looking at.
I think there's a larger sense, Mr. Fukan, that it appears that the Congress has ceded space to the Aam Aadmi Party. It has been, making inroads for quite some time. We've seen how it impacted the results in Surat. But what are the prominent issues that the Aam Aadmi Party is actually riding on? Because I've been seeing a lot of reports. They seem to be, harping on public sentiments about local employment in Surat, and perhaps a lot of businessmen. Largely the diamond traders seem to be going the AAP way. Well,
from whatever little I followed, I haven't followed much of Mr. Kejriwal's campaign on the ground, but from whatever I followed of, they were pretty similar of all Aam Aadmi Party candidates. I covered in Rajkot, in Porbandar. So they have been focusing about their Delhi model. So they talk about better and affordable education, affordable health care. In that context, they also talk about the shortcomings that one witnessed during the COVID pandemic. That is another thing that Congress has also been pushing about lack of effective management during COVID pandemic by the Rupani government. And they also say that it was an acknowledgement of sorts that the entire government was changed and a new team was brought in. So Aam Aadmi has been focusing on those issues: health, education, governance, Delhi model. Congress, on the other hand, has been, from what I saw, was talking about Mehengai, the Gujarati word, Mr. Parekh can correct me if I have mispronounced it. I think it's called Mongwari. So, yeah, so I think that is repeatedly that issue has come. And as Shekhar Ayaji was saying, that, it is not about BJP winning. Most commentators have said that they are going to win. The question is about the margin. What kind of numbers will they get? My hunch is, and this is my impression, it is a tough election. It is much tougher for the BJP than what it seems, on the surface. That is my impression. People do want to change. And the reason why you see so much of, such high voltage campaign by the Prime Minister is because of his personal popularity. The Prime Minister is singularly, like we saw in Uttarakhand, in Gujarat, he is the tallest leader. So there is, the paradox is, the irony is, this is what I found out, Mr. Parekh can perhaps add to it. I found out that people actually want change. They've seen a lot of BJP. They have talked about price rise. They've talked about corruption. They've talked about political arrogance of the local level BJP functionaries. These are people, these are traders who wouldn't usually open up to a Delhi visiting journalist, and not unless you know them well, but they were open enough to tell me about these things. But they feel that eventually it is the Prime Minister's popularity who will actually sort of steer the ship and, manage to hold the BJP together. And that's why they're looking at AAP, but AAP is not yet a tested entity. So I think, as I said earlier, that this is an election where they are perhaps testing waters. They may emerge as a formidable force. And there's also an element of fatigue with the Congress because they've lost so many elections now. So, like I asked a Muslim trader in Rajkot, his name was Imran, so I asked him, ki kya mahal hai? He said, saab, yahan to jharu aur kamal ka. So I said, acha, haath ka, panje ka nahi hai? He says, panja to haarte hi rehta hai. So, he was like, ab dam nahi raha.
And the Congress has not even worked to revive that sentiment that, we are very much still in the race.
They claim they have, but there were certain events. Even in the last election, 2017, actually Ashok Gehlot, Ahmed Patel was certainly behind the scenes strategist, but also Mr. Ashok Gehlot played a huge role. But in these elections, first he was caught up in the presidential election and then the leadership tussle happened. So, turn of events was such that Congress really sort of couldn't put its best foot forward.
And it gave the Aam Aadmi Party a lot of time to actually, a lot of space to actually expand. Mr. Parekh, the larger point of discussion here is that people of Gujarat want a change, but they do not want it at the cost of Prime Minister Modi's popularity. Do you agree that there is fatigue and there is anti-incumbency against the BJP? But the strongest factor being that Prime Minister Modi's charisma is such that the people of Gujarat would not want actually to, want his party to lose. Is that the kind of sentiment that you also read?
Yeah, China, I agree with what you are saying, and I'd like to add to it that what has happened is for almost 3 decades now, a little less than 3 decades, people have seen only one party in power, and ever since 2002, Mr. Modi has been heading it. So, if people talk about a change, it's very much there on everybody's mind, particularly the youngsters who have grown up seeing Narendra Modi as the leader that their parents have been, supporting. So for them, probably they are looking at a change. But then again, there's no, as I said, there's no concerted opposition which is, kind of committed to snatching power and claiming it. Mm-hmm. That clearly seems to be absent on a holistic, bigger picture. But if you look at it at the micro level, yes, Congress has been definitely working silently at seat level. They know that there are areas where they can do better. So in case of those individual candidates, it's likely to do not so bad. But as a party overall, it doesn't seem to be posing as a challenger. I would say rather AAP has a better body language as a challenger. And if at all you're looking at who is the challenger of BJP in Gujarat at this point, Congress doesn't cut that kind of figure. AAP does.
At least
This
they
is
managed
the
to keep the
perception
campaign
we
high
can see.
octane.
It doesn't mean necessarily that that's how the voters are going to see, because they will in the end look at their own candidate and their constituency and their issue. But if there's only one issue that has cropped up in this election in Gujarat very clearly, and which is not really noticed by most people, and that is Narendra Modi himself. He's been the only agenda of this election for everybody, and he's been the center of it. The number of rallies and public events and shows and stuff that he has done.
In fact, as we
He's
speak,
probably the reason
he's
why
actually conducting a road show, the longest perhaps that
Correct.
we've seen. Taking on that point, to Mr. Iyer, there is no denying the fact that Prime Minister Modi is the biggest strength of the BJP today. Election after election has been won by the party because of his charisma. But do you also agree that it's also the biggest weakness of the party coming in a state like Gujarat, wherein you do not have a strong leader? So Prime Minister is not going to run the state. You do not have a strong enough chief ministerial candidate who can garner as much votes as the Prime Minister. Mr. Iyer.
Well, the BJP need not have a leader to match Modi. At least what the people are finding is wanting in the BJP is a more responsive government, what they have been witness to during the Modi era. See, what has happened was, you had the Patidar agitation, which somewhat put the BJP set up in a post-Modi period in a sort of in a beleaguered position. And to recover from that, all kind of permutation combinations were tried, going for a non-Patidar combination. But, just a bit of a background. See, when the Congress was doing well with the CAM, that social political alliance, which included Kshatriya, Harijans, Adivasi and Muslim, the Patidars were not part of that social alliance. That is where the BJP worked on it and became largely dependent on Patidar support. Now, that particular agitation has since, has got minimized, and today Patidars are largely seen back with the BJP. Even the faces that led the agitation, like Hardik Patel is a BJP candidate. A lot of things have happened. But what is missing is, I think, the BJP realizes that people do not want to give up on Modi. People do not want anything to happen that will be seen as setback to the Prime Minister at the national level. But at the same time, they want a BJP which is little more responsible, little more, because the expectation of governance has gone up. And unfortunately, during the COVID period, some of the ugly sides of the governance came to light. And also, the Gujarat is a completely different state when you compare it with other states in North India or anywhere. Because the people of Gujarat, their approach is different. That's why the Aam Aadmi Party could not set Gujarat on fire with their freebies. Because people of Gujarat are essentially very entrepreneurial, and they look at a government that can facilitate their trade, their business, with firmness of policies, with making, the ease of living that the Prime Minister talks about is essentially an approach of the people of Gujarat. Now, when it comes to that, at the same time, as was mentioned here just a while ago, issues of corruption, particularly at the lower level, at the district level, at the municipal level, and even at the ministerial level, these have been very, very worrisome, because as Gujarat continues to be in a state of boom compared to other states, and they have been attracting huge investments, largely because of efforts of the Prime Minister, and as well as the fact that there is a government in Delhi which has not forgotten Gujarat. But at the same time, the issues of corruption at the lower level, at the level at which common people deal with authorities, that has been worrisome. So this election will be a game changer, because if BJP comes back to power, let's say they manage with say 120 seats or whatever, I'm not sure whether they will get a record halt. But definitely, I think there will be a lot of churning in the BJP, because whatever Aam Aadmi Party wins, that is going to set the BJP completely in a state of shock. Because suppose even if Aam Aadmi Party wins 20% of votes, say at the vote of Congress, see, by the time the Lok Sabha elections are held, this could impact at least 4 or 5 Lok Sabha seats out of the 26 in Gujarat. And
Okay.
the BJP is looking at Gujarat, 26 seats as entirely its. That is the way it has been. But if there is somebody, a new challenger on the horizon, that is going to see a lot of changes. That may be change at the leadership at the state level, and a lot of things could happen. Everything depends not on how many number of seats Aam Aadmi Party wins, but what is the percentage of votes that they manage to gather in this election.
Yes, I think it's all reduced to the victory margin. Now, Mr. Fukun, one last question from you on how you see the changing political discourse of Gujarat and also of the other states wherein traditionally we've seen the BJP and the Congress, in a direct face-off, but now the Congress ceding space to a relatively new party.
Yeah, I mean, this is bound to happen. That's what I said, that as Mr. Parekh pointed out, and I exactly got the same impression. When you go and cover, as an outsider, when you go and cover an election, and when you look at the hoardings and posters and campaigns, you get the feeling that the main challenge is between Aam Aadmi Party.
With the way things are going, by 2024, do you think the BJP and the AAP are going to be the direct, contenders in the general elections?
Well, that entirely depends on how they do, how Aam Aadmi Party does. I mean, the reason why people are talking about Aam Aadmi Party is because of their performance in the civic polls in Surat. But, they're still a long way off. They are a talking point, all right. But, in terms of, I don't see them winning many seats, or I think it's an untested entity right now. And my sense, I can give you an example from one seat that I covered, Porbandar, where they have a strong leader, Babu Bhai Bukharia. There is anti-incumbency. They have the former leader of the opposition, Arjun Bhai Modwadia of Congress. In the last election, the difference between the two, Mr. Bukharia won by 1855 votes, 1,855 votes. So, if those votes had come to Mr. Modwadia, he would have won. So, this time, AAP has fielded a candidate. So, I talked to both the candidates and both are unsure whose votes, privately their supporters would say, on the face of it, both of them claim that, oh no, AAP is no challenge. But fact is that most of their supporters were unsure whose votes they are going to cut into. It's not as if that they are going to cut only Congress votes. They could also cut into, as I said, Rajkot city is an example. They could also cut into urban votes, which is a BJP stronghold. So, I think we'll have to wait to say anything authoritatively about 2024. It's still early. They are a new player.
But the manner in which they've expanded in states like, in, of course, the city-state of Delhi, then again in Punjab, and the kind of confidence that they have exuded.
Look, Tina, as journalists, we look at the success stories. We don't talk about the failures. I mean, they didn't do very well in Goa. They fought in Uttarakhand. They came a cropper in Uttarakhand. So,
of course, this time they're testing waters in Gujarat as well. So let's see how it turns out to be for them. They are quite confident they're forming the government, but whether they manage to make that kind of dent, in Gujarat is something that we'll have to wait on till the 8th of December. For now, I'll have to wind up the program. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this edition of Perspective and sharing your thoughts with us and our viewers. Absolute pleasure to hear your opinions about which way Gujarat may go in these elections. So thank you very much to you viewers as well for your time. I'll see you same time tomorrow. Until then, you take good care of yourselves. Keep watching Sansad.